So how does it make you feel that Jay Ajayi is a huge gooner and Harry Kane likes the Patriots?
Oh, mate.
Interdivision rivals.
Oh, no. It makes me so sad. You know, I tweeted at Harry Kane the other day because he tweeted about the Patriots. And I just said to him, love you, hate the Patriots.
You know, I won't watch anything that Idris Elba does. That actor.
Why?
Because he's a gooner.
Because he's a gooner as well.
Yeah, he's a massive gooner. So
I watched Thor the other day. He's in that.
He's probably pretty good, but I won't watch it. By the way,
what
Tim,
did you think of The Wire? Did you watch The Wire?
I did, and I think of The Wire as probably the greatest piece of American television ever. But I didn't know he was a gooner when I watched The Wire, and when I watched it the second time through. But Tim, in a theoretical world, this is not being recorded.
Yeah.
But in
all these actor lovies, they're all gooners, aren't they?
In a Super Bowl where the Tottenham Spurs play the Dallas Cowboys, who are you cheering for?
Wait, what do you mean?
It's a football Super Bowl. Both teams play football in my theoretical world, and the Tottenham
It's like
Spurs,
MMA, but they play mixed football.
That's right. The Tottenham Spurs are playing.
Let me clarify. Are you saying if Dallas is in the Super Bowl and then Tottenham's in like a FA Cup final, and I can only choose one?
If they play in the world. That's a good analogy. No, hang on. If Dallas Cowboys are in the Super Bowl and Tottenham Hotspur are in the Champions League final,
then you got to pick one to win. Okay, okay, it's a better way. That's a realistic way of expressing the. Great. That's a great shout there. All right, well done.
Well, so Vass said Champions League final.
Right. Okay, win the league. Because I think it's more important, right? Would you rather win the league or rather win? We should talk about this in the pod. Would you rather win the league or would you rather win the Champions League?
You can insert this recording at the beginning.
All right. Okay.
And if they lose the league, Arsenal win the league.
No. Let's not confuse it. Let's keep it simple.
No, you don't even. You don't even have to keep adding things to it. I'll answer it. So if it's Cowboys in a Super Bowl and Tottenham for like a Capital One Cup or Carabao Cup let me answer it. Let me answer. That's what I'm saying. If it's Cowboys in a Super Bowl versus Tottenham in Carabao or FA Cup, I'm going Cowboys. If it's Tottenham for the league or the Champions League final, then I'm going Tottenham.
Woo!
Wow. Timmy, man. Respect to you, mate.
I'm rooting for England in no time.
Kenny's a flag burner, but you're a proper Tottenham.
Reflect back to being a player with and manager of some of the finest players that have ever been in the game.
Hotspur America. From the United States to N17, this is the original US-based podcast dedicated solely to Tottenham Hotspur Football Club.
When you're at a club like Tottenham, they expect you to win all the time. Be the best club in the country as far as I'm concerned.
Coming to you each week during the season.
Spurs in full cry here. Barrell! Oh, what a goal! And Christian Eriksen has scored!
I hate Arsenal. I just hate them.
Oh, what a goal! And Cafu's put Tottenham in front! Kane comes to the Emirates, scores for Spurs.
We're the Yids in America.
Carried away, but Dix is there to step in!
To dare is to do.
Tottenham Hotspur turning on the style. Glory, glory night at White Hart Lane. The Spurs are still marching on.
This is Hotspur America. Episode 11, Season 4 of the Hotspur America podcast. We have absolutely nothing and a little bit of everything to talk about this weekend. As usual, our podcast brought to you by the wonderful folks over at the Community Beer Company, the perfect pub pint to share with your mates. And I've got all of mine sitting around the table virtually. In Simon, my friend, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Can barely hear you, but I'm good. Vass also joining us from across the pond. Vass, how you doing?
Yeah, all good, thanks, Ken.
Good to have you on, man. Dolphins play today, right? You got a shot with the Titans losing their quarterback.
Oh, mate, that's like small mercies, I think, but that's about it at the moment. We're awful.
Yeah, that's going to be kind of like watching lower league football and the worst teams in each division. I don't know. It's going to be terrible. Timmy also joining us today. Cowboys play today, right?
Play Green Bay. Big game.
Yeah, that'll be worth watching. I think that'll be a fun one. And back on the pod with me, because it seems like we're missing each other, man, playing tag, and you're it. Sammy joining us. Got
here.
All 5 of us here today. Yes.
Here.
How was Marfa, man?
It was wonderful. I'm remarkably well, given we're in the midst of an international break. Let's do this.
Yeah, second international break in 7 friggin' weeks. It does my head in, but I get it. It's important. There's a World Cup next summer. We'll kind of see how it all plays out. And it played out really well, Simon, to start things off, because Harry, I did not get a chance to watch this match, but from all accounts, everything that I read, it was an absolute snore fest until the 90th minute when you-know-who showed up.
Yeah, it was absolutely dreadful. No imagination whatsoever from Southgate. Very defensive-minded. I mean, Slovenia, not exactly a world power. I don't know where they're ranked in the 40th to 50th percentile in the FIFA rankings. Not good at all. Really didn't threat. Well, I mean, they had a couple of opportunities, which is par for England to give a team of that caliber some opportunities to screw it up for everyone. But it was terrible. I mean, Vass, you and I were going back and forth during the game on Twitter, and your point of Dyer sitting back when he could have gone forward and really supported the attack was spot on. But there was no one other than probably Rashford for a little bit being able to support Harry. Oxlade-Chamberlain, what a waste of space, and Sterling was dreadful. It just wasn't good, and you thought it was going to be 0-0, which on the strength of the Scotland result was still enough to put England through, but Harry pops up, and superb cross from he whose name shall not be mentioned on the right. It was a delicious cross, and Harry didn't connect with it perfectly, but it was enough to fool the keeper, and it went in. So, job done. We're off to Russia, and England playing 1 hour, and Winksy is in the starting lineup.
Yeah, and on the back of that, Sam, there are some, and quite a few, Spurs fans blowing up social media this morning saying that this Winks start could mark the end or the beginning of the end for Henderson in the England squad. Do you think he has that much talent and potential to certainly unseat one of the veteran midfield presences in that squad?
Let me start with my thoughts on Henderson, who is a certainly capable midfielder. I mean, I certainly think that he, should have been in the England selection for as long as he has. He's frustrated with effectiveness and I think overall consistency. It's obviously a very important position. His experience is valuable. But to combat that, or to consider that against, is Pochettino's comments that I think he made a comment about Winks having Iniesta-like qualities. So maybe this is the beginning. I mean, he's going to have to take this opportunity and do well with it. But it could very well be the beginning of something. 4 years ago, Dele Alli sends out a tweet, says, "Here's my mate Harry Winks. He'll be an England player with me," and boom, here we are.
Yeah, and it boils down to Pochettino, right, Tim? When you have these players that have enough hunger and desire. It's amazing to me to see the progression of Harry Kane over the past 3 or 4 years, and now Harry Winks here more recently. When you have these players that have that much drive and determination for their club, it inherently seems to spill over into their country play as well. The comments Poch makes about comparing Winks to Iniesta, that's all about trust, is it not?
Yeah. I mean, it is.
Oh, good, Timmy, sorry.
Oh, I thought he directed it to me, Sammy. You want to jump in here?
No, I thought he said Sam.
Come and sit on Santa's lap.
I apologize.
Down, Sam.
I thought he said Sam. I'm sorry.
Just trying to steal the show. No, it's true. I mean, it does show that level of trust. It's been throughout his career at Tottenham and also with Southampton, the trust he shows in young players and how many players he's developed that have gotten their call-ups to England. I mean, if he wouldn't give them the chance to play for club, obviously they wouldn't get the call-up. So, yeah.
Yeah, and Vass, when you're there and you get to see a little bit more and hear a little bit more, even with social media, than we do here because of the local news product that is out there. When you look at Winks and Dyer and obviously Kane, we've seen in a very Spurs-centric squad, yet we play that match last week Thursday, and it was so boring and so inept. It got me thinking, when you have England and Liverpool and City and United and all these powerful attacking and counter-attacking teams and high-pressing teams that are dominating the Premier League, that have so many players in the England squad, yet we seem to peel back when we're all together, so to speak, and playing for the country with an English manager versus an Argentinian manager or a Portuguese manager. Is there something to be said about the style that the FA and an England manager would expect from players versus an international management group? Is that why we see what we see?
I think it's a lack of identity. English managers that have run or held the post of head coach for England over the years haven't really sort of blazed the trail from the point of view of a successful club career, or indeed merely just having a particular philosophy in the way they play football, in the way that perhaps Pochettino does, or Guardiola, or Klopp, even Mourinho. All these top managers have a particular way of playing. England have always been disadvantaged because of the lack of English players left playing in the Premier League, and that shows itself when these guys get together. It may well have players within it coming from these top clubs, but these players probably have 8, sometimes 9 players that are of different nationalities in their club team. So it's very difficult to transfer that philosophy from the club level into the international level, particularly when the manager himself has yet to carve out a particular way of playing and an efficient way of playing to use the tools that he has before him. The game on Thursday night was an utter snooze fest, as you said earlier. There was no shape, there was no direction. We're trying to play with fullbacks bombing on, but then we're leaving ourselves with 2 at the back, and there's no cover if the opposition breaks. We had 2 defensive midfield players that weren't doing very much, and we talk about Henderson before. Well, there was a period last season where Henderson was out for Liverpool, and you could see that they actually missed him. But when he comes to play for England, he's totally effective in what he does. And players like Oxlade-Chamberlain, awful. Sterling was just a turnover machine, kept losing possession, and it's really quite annoying. But c'est la vie. What can you do? Yeah, you always qualify, but then they do nothing when we get there, and then we end up being surprised.
Yeah, it's similar to some of Delhi's early struggles this year, giving the ball away and having some poor touches. And you've made mention of that on the podcast. I don't think he's playing particularly poor. I just don't think he's playing particularly well, at least what we expect. Sam, I know that you were going to jump on this bandwagon a little bit as you and Tim were trying to vie for position there.
No. Sorry,
I'm interested I'm interested in your comments. I really want to hear it.
Well, I was actually just going to butt in with a question there for Vass particularly, because it made the rounds this week. So Carlo Ancelotti is having difficulties at Bayern. There's rumors that he's going to lose his job. I wanted to ask Vass 2 questions. Number 1, if you could push a button and install Ancelotti as England manager and fire Southgate, would you? And is there any possibility of that happening?
I think there's probably 0 possibility, Sam. I may do it if the decision was mine, but the problem we have now is that you're just a few months away from a World Cup finals. There's probably a couple of international breaks left, if that. And I don't know what any new manager is going to do with this crop of players. It really sort of baffles me at the moment as to what the solution is.
It'd be a wonderfully bold move, and just listening to your thoughts about how a manager, you got to have somebody special to put together all of these different players who play sort of under different systems. I would think that a very experienced manager, both in England and on the continent, would be somebody to do the job. I don't know, but I don't suspect that would happen.
Yeah, but then would he be a long-term answer or just a stopgap? Because if you could appoint Ancelotti, but who's to say he'll hang around?
Who cares? Who cares? It's all about a World Cup performance, right? I mean, nobody's ever really been in that job for. Well, I mean, they've been managers that have been there for years at a time. But I think in this case, you're hiring somebody to do a job. This is about money and performance at the World Cup level.
Yeah, let me ask this question. Go ahead. I want to ask a question. I want to direct it to Simon because I want to get him involved in this conversation. Simon, when you listen to Vass and Sam going back and forth on this, and even Tim when he had his input, I want to ask a question. Is a manager